Got to do some meditation like the players after that. Let's wait for a few more saners to tune in, unless they're already out having some benders, which is perfectly good excuse for tonight. Let's get a few. Comment your thoughts, by the way. Let me know how you're feeling. Let's wait for a few more saners to tune in. Let me know exactly how your reaction was in the last couple of minutes, because my girlfriend was filming and I didn't realize, and yeah, my throat's very sore. It's just ridiculous to believe what just happened. So comment your thoughts. Let me know what you think. And obviously everyone's got some champagne, hopefully, or some sort of drink, and we'll cheers to Brett Ratton and the St Kilda Football Club. So cheers, Rats. And that was, yeah, we've got a big budget here at Saints TV. A lot of balloons flying around. Got the colours, got everything going on. So it's a party, and yeah, when this happens every 10 years, you got to go big budget. So could not be happier. Just mind blown from what we just saw. That was, I forgot about these as well. That didn't work. Let's just try that one. There you go. Get the pyrotechnics out, Sainers. Geez, these are poor quality, by the way. They're not doing anything. There you go. Beautiful. All right, let's get on to the review. That was a final. You know, that was exactly what a final is, you know, by definition. If you wonder, you know, what's finals football? What defines this sort of game and what makes it different to any other sort of game? Watch this game. You know, as a neutral, watch this game. Because we had the ascendancy for most of the game. You know, I thought that we were the better team. I thought that the first quarter, although the Dogs went in the break ahead at quarter time, we were the better team. We were going inside 50. We had a lot of clear-cut chances that I thought were blown. And, you know, I'm going to be first to say that Jaron Geary was fucking huge in this game. He stood up as a captain, as a player, as a goal kicker, and did more than I could have expected from him. So, Jaron Geary, mate, you stood up, you led from the front, and for anyone that says, why are you captain, why are you playing, watch this game. He creates a massive difference in that forward line. But yeah, the first quarter, we went inside 50, I think at least more times that were level to them, and there was just a few times where we should have scored and we didn't. But I had a feeling, you know, I just had a feeling that we were getting enough of the ball in the midfield, that their midfield wasn't controlling the game. And that's all week what the issue was. That's what the media were talking about. That's what I talked about in the podcast. That's the key thing, that if you look at any article that previewed this game, they were talking about, well, if the Bulldogs midfield gets on top, they win this game. But if St Kilda neutralise that with their rucks, and speaking of, Paddy Ryder had a fucking great game tonight, and so shit to see how he ended the game, and he was clearly very disappointed and crying, and I just hope it's not a crazy long-term injury. It's a big loss, but going into next week, when you think about it, Richmond don't have a massive ruckman. They're not key. That's not key to Richmond. So if out of all weeks we have to go just one ruck in Marshall, then it'll be next week, and that should be fine. But you know, it's just disappointing end to the game overall. But you know, back to what I was talking about with the forward line, I had a feeling that if we ironed that out, if we just played a bit smarter, we took our chances, we just lowered the eyes and didn't panic. And I think that's something that can be, you know, that can be understandable in a final when, you know, I think it was 12 of the 22 or so hadn't played a final before, or maybe more. That was, you know, going to be expected. That there was a chance that we could be overawed, we could be just not handle the occasion. And I thought, you know, after the 10-minute mark, you know, I thought, well, we've settled into this. You know, we're not winning, but we're playing well enough that if we get a run on, we can hurt them, you know. And I thought that for the majority of the game, when they went forward, they needed they needed some luck, some umpiring decisions. They needed their smalls to do something. And for the most part, I thought our defense rebounded it really well. You know, I thought our defense was huge. And Caulfield in that last 10 minutes, the 4 or 5 intercept marks that he took were ridiculous. You know, he saved us in that last quarter. There were so many chances where the Bulldogs were going fast. They needed Bruce and Norton to take over and to stand up. And someone like Caulfield just drifted in and took the intercept mark and slowed down that momentum. And if you don't have someone like Nick Caulfield there, then Bulldogs either take those marks or they get more ground ball. They get a dropped mark, but they get ground ball in their forward half. and they can hold it in and create pressure that way. But Nick Caulfield, huge in that last quarter and stood up when we needed him to. And speaking of players that stood up when we needed them to, Hunter Clark in that fucking second quarter, I think it was, in that last 2 minutes at the last line of defense, the amount of dodges that he does, it's in slow motion. He's in the Matrix, you know? It's like Keanu Reeves dodging bullets. I've said this before. He is unreal, you know? He's just, for a player that's playing in his first final, in his third year at AFL level, he looks like a player that's been around for 10 years and he's completely comfortable in a final. And I thought that was the case with a lot of players that haven't played a final. You know, Ben Long, Ben Patton, I don't know if Dougal Howard's played a final, Cal Wilkie, most of our forward line, Max King. It's taken me too long to get to Max King, but this was his announcement game. He only kicked the 2, but he took some ridiculous contested marks. He got some of these occasions where it was a ground ball that even for a small, you'd be impressed with the way they picked it up off the deck. But it was Max King picking it up off the deck below his knees and continuing the play. You know, he did some very, very special things. And for people that have given him a few, you know, bad comments over the years for not standing up or for looking tired, watch this game. He stood up when he needed to, didn't he? He stood up when we needed him to, and that's the key thing. Dean Kent did the same thing. Loney bobbed up. Butler bobbed up when we needed him to. Tim Membry had over, I think, close to 10 marks. And, you know, speaking of marks, the contested mark count was outrageous. Rowan Marshall, Paddy Ryder, Max King, Tim Membry, Dougal Howard, Nick Caulfield, all of these players took contested marks. Even Jaron Geary took a couple of contested marks that were very surprising against, you know, Caleb Daniel and Johannesson and a few of these guys. So I think, you know, the contested mark tally was, we were double. You know, we were doing enough at the ground ball to negate their mids from getting a run on, to getting their handball game going. And we dominated in the air enough that when we were going forward, or when they were going forward, we had the aerial power and the aerial presence to get the job done. And, you know, you couldn't be more happy with the performance. And to see the footage of Brett Radden coming out after the game with a big smile on his face, the club, the players just going nuts at the final siren. I'm going to watch that a few times because that's 10 years of shit that we've had to deal with. To have a moment like that. And the Bulldogs kept coming. They kept pushing, and we knew that was going to happen. But our boys stuck fat. We created enough of a lead that it was too hard for the Dogs in the end, and they got lucky. That, you know, I don't like bringing this up in a review and talking about and giving it any sort of airtime. But some of the umpiring in that last quarter was fucking ridiculous. You know, that Mitch Wallace free kick, I think it was McRae or Hunter got one as well. You know, some of the free kicks to the Bulldogs in the last few minutes was questionable to say the least. But, you know, talking more about our boys, I said it going into this game, it was no different to the GWS game. You know, I thought that this game we had the better back line, we had the better forward line, they had the better midfield. We broke even in that midfield, and that is panic stations for the Bulldogs because the Bulldogs don't have a consistent forward line that can kick goals. They kicked the bulk of their goals late. They went into the last quarter with 5 goals on the board. They needed to kick 7 or 8 to win the game. They couldn't do that, and that was too much for them. And in the back half, our defenders were just disciplined. You know, there were a few occasions where the Bulldogs had a few too many, easy, uncontested marks, but for the majority of it, we caused, you know, them to bomb it in, to rush it. We didn't get them to lower the eyes, to go for leads. And it was only until the last 5 minutes that Norton looked anything remotely like a tall forward. You know, he turned into Max King in the last 5 minutes, taking a few good contested marks, but it was too late. We did all the work when it mattered. They did it when we might have slowed down, or, you know, you can forgive that in the last 5 minutes we might have gotten a bit nervous. You know, this is the first time in 10 years that we've been in a situation where we need to see out a final. We need to, you know, you look at the scoreboard and your team's only 3 points up after being 20 points up. You can easily panic, and we've got a very young team, the 3rd or 4th youngest in the competition. So for us to learn to get through this and to go into next week playing Richmond, who are a team that, you know, people think are, you know, a chance to still win the flag from this point, you know, in the season at a semi-final stage. is big, and we've beaten them. We know that our game plan stands up against a team like Richmond. So the fact is, we beat Richmond. We play Port to go into the grand final. That's two teams in the next 3 weeks, or in the next 2 weeks, that we play to play off in a grand final. We've taken on the Bulldogs. We've beaten them. We beat them in the season. We play Richmond next week. We beat them in the season. Then you play Port in a prelim. We've already beaten them in a season. Every team that we play for the remainder of the year, bar the grand final, whoever we play in that, if we make it, we've beaten. And that is crazy confidence. That gives the players so much energy and confidence and belief. Belief being the key thing, that we've gotten through one of the hardest games of the season for us. We've gotten through the last two. GWS to get a finals chance, and then the Dogs to actually secure a win in the finals. And, this is beyond what we could have expected, guys. We, prior to the start of the season, we would not have thought, okay, we're going to win a final. We're going to be playing Richmond in a semi-final with a chance to win. You would not have tipped that. We have exceeded all of our expectations. We have done so much more than any of us could have predicted. And the party continues. And you know what? I don't think we're going to fear Richmond next week. We're going to go into next week full of confidence. We lose Paddy Ryder, which sucks, but we might well gain a Josh Battle, and that's as good as gold. He is a very flexible player, and that's a big name to come back into our lineup. And I'm still trying to compose myself after the last 3 or 4 minutes there, when I thought I had visions of fuck. I'm going to be so happy, and then I'm going to have to do a review when we've coughed up a 20-point lead. But this Saints team is something different. We're not a team that is going to just lie down and not give it its all. We're going to give it our all, and it's going to take a lot of balls from Richmond next week to stop us, because this team the party's only just getting started, I reckon. I reckon there's more to this team than we can imagine, and next week's going to show a lot more of what our boys are capable of, and I can't wait for it. This season's been crazy. Lockdown, no supporters, no this, no that, but the fact that we've gone through all that and we're still coming out with a semi-final game against last year's premiers is insane. So I can't wait. I'm so excited. So enough from me. It was, I'm kind of just being emotional about it. I could talk tactics all day, but we'll save that for the Saints TV podcast with Marshy and Joycey. First of all, before I get into the comments, and keep the comments coming, I'm going to have a sip of this and continue the party, and then we'll get into some of the comments. Oh, man. God. Let's go through some of these comments. I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, or at least as close to the top as I can get. I don't know if I'll be able to, because there's so many comments. Abby says, hell yeah. Loving that. Nathan says, you fucking beauty. Tim says, fuck yeah. Sorry to anyone that doesn't like the F-bomb, but, everyone's excited, so we're just going to have to manage it and go with it. This is from James. To anyone that doubted Geary this year, and he's put the finger up, he said, just piss off. So, yeah, I've been a Geary doubter. Every Saints fan at some point this year has doubted Geary. But today, he stood up and he was close to a match winner with some of the things that he was doing, the goals that he was kicking. He kicked crucial goals at every point of the game. And for a captain, you can't ask much more than what he delivered. So he's played the perfect captain's game today. Emily says, you bloody beauty. Wade says, fuck yeah. James says, Sinclair was huge for the first 3 quarters. Jack Sinclair has reinvented himself this season. Jack Sinclair is he's a connector. Our midfield is building. Players like him connect front to back, or back to front, mind you. Every time that we're under pressure in the back half and Caulfield would get the ball, or Wilkie or someone would get the ball, they needed an outlet. And 9 times out of 10, it was Jack Sinclair. He always provided that connector, and then he would give it to the player that needed it and could use it. Some of the stuff that he was doing, it's his endurance. He can get to every contest. I wouldn't be surprised if he clocked, top 3, top 4 of the most Ks on the ground, because he gets to these contests. He waits just enough on the outside that he backs the player to go on the inside, get the hard ball, and then get it at him. And when he gets it, he can either run with it because he's got that explosive kind of top, good speed in the first 10 to 20 meters of his running, Or he can use it by foot, left foot or right foot, or is a good decision maker and he gets it to a play that's running by. So he's the perfect complementary player to that midfield. He's not the star, he's not the game changer, but he does those little things that a lot of other players, even some of our stars, don't do, and that makes our midfield so much more dangerous on the rebound, going from defence to attack. So great point there from James. Cal says, thank you, Geary, for proving me wrong. Owen the Saints, getting involved there. Beautiful. Mia says, scariest 5 minutes of my life. Yeah, you and me both, Mia. That was, like I said, I had visions of us losing that game and me coming on here and giving a review when we've lost after me being so excited and happy for 95% of that game. And there's no way the Dogs deserve to win that game. Their supporters can't say that they were unlucky to lose. The better team won. We were the better team and we got the job done and we move on next week. So yes, the last 5 minutes was fucking huge, but it's those 5 minutes now. You look back, and even I was during the week watching the 09 prelim against the Dogs in the last 2 minutes where Roo kicks that toe poke goal. That still brought tears to my eyes because there were so many chances for us to lose the game and we didn't. And it was the same tonight in the last 2 minutes. So many chances where the Dogs could have won the game and we just held strong and put our head over the ball and Marshall taking a few big marks and we just secure the win that way. So that was huge. Abby says that clock couldn't tick quick enough. Farron says, what a fucking win. So happy. Got no words to describe it. Joshua says, honestly thought I was having a heart attack. I think all of us were, mate. Peter says, good win. Just good win. Nothing special. Just good win. Who's that? Sherry, just need them to win one more final before I cark it, please. Jade, the old sister's getting involved here. G'day, Jade. I've never been more nervous at work. What an ending. Yeah, I don't know how many people were working and were watching this, but my sister Jade, who just commented, she works and she just had the cheeky iPhone going with the Foxtel stream there. So that's ultimate dedication. And yeah, there would have been many Sainters around Australia that were preoccupied and were just trying to sneak the scores or watch the game, and it would have made them very nervous in the last couple of minutes. Farron says, very nervous on Paddy Ryder. Hopefully he's okay, but I've heard it's a hamstring, so I doubt he plays next week or the week after. Stu says, the most stressful end to a game I can remember. Pacing the living room, such a relief. Ryder was a beast. He was a beast. He played just a fucking great game for Ruckman. Lauren says, my heart rate was sky high, so proud. Peter says, Ryder has done hamstring, has been confirmed. Emily says, heard Paddy might be out for the rest of his career. Not for the rest of his career. I doubt he retires, but fingers crossed he plays on next year. Kim says, I watched that game the same way you did, standing 2 feet from the TV. I know, you feel like if you're sitting down, you're too casual and almost it affects the result of the game. So I had to stand up. I had to be right there. And, even when I play FIFA on the PlayStation, when I'm losing, I stand up and then I play better. It's just that extra bit of focus. You're almost trying to control the game with your sheer emotion. And, it was no different for me in the last couple of minutes. Angus says, Dougal Howard, what a star, our best on ground for sure. Geez, there would have been a lot of best on grounds. A lot of best on moments. Hunter Clark in the second, Dougal Howard late, Caulfield late, Paddy Ryder in that third and fourth quarter, Dan Butler in that third quarter. Dan Hanbury's first half, leading possession getter at halftime. I don't know what he finished with, by the way, but that first half, the amount of, chip kicks into the 50 that he got to a forward on a lead or in space that generated a score was insane. He was a potential late out in that that I heard going into this game, but that first half from Dan Hanbury set us up big time, and that's why we got him from Sydney. That is exactly why we got him, and we got Brad Hill from other clubs. Gears was the best. That's from Colette. Brett and Jessica says, I'm in tears, so happy. Luke says, Ratton's 3 coaches finals, the Blues choked all 3. We nearly repeated that, but we've broken that drought. Yeah, he would have been feeling that pressure in the last couple of minutes more than anyone in Australia. But he'd be the happiest guy on the planet right now. Abby says, captain stepped up and so did the team. This one's from Andrew. Shattered for Paddy. Best on ground tonight by a mile. How bad were those bloody umpires and how needy and sooky are the Dogs? Hows get stuffed. Sound you bunch of maggots. umps included. That's a great comment from Catherine. How good were Howard and Caulfield? Rock solid in defence. They've been rock solid all year, and it was no different tonight. And it's, great signs that we've got some players like that haven't played a final, haven't played under that sort of intensity, and then they can absorb it and play their game and still take risks. In the first 3.5 quarters, we were willing to take risks. I can understand that in the fourth, we thought we were home, we tried to slow it down, we tried to play conservative, but that meant that our defence was too deep, and any time that the Bulldogs got the ball outside the 50, they had a lot of space to just bomb it in there, and they were just hoping for more marks. Luckily for us, our defence stood tall, and in the first 5 minutes, Caulfield took 4 intercept marks, and that saved us in the end, because if he's not there, we probably don't win that game. Kieran says, go the fucking Saints, unbelievable. Declan says, big mention to King, Ryder and Marshall, all of them did well in the air. Andrew says, G, Ryder, Hanbury, Carlisle, Supreme. Sorry, Josh, maybe next year. Ripper game, go Saints. Let's go. I'm not saying that comment. I think everyone can lip read there. Adam says, we were the better team. For 3 quarters, the entire team was great. Awesome effort by all. Last quarter just went too far into squeaky bum time. We got there, however, and fortunately didn't have to pay the ultimate price for our inexperience. That's a great point. We get the experience this week, and hopefully next week we're not overawed playing the reigning premiers, in a final, which we couldn't picture it was ever going to happen this year. But we're in that position, and we've got the team that I think is going to thrive in that. They're going to love playing Richmond next week. Dan Butler included. He's going to love taking on his old team in a final. Georgie says Caulfield in the last quarter was supreme. James says so far 3 outsiders in the betting have got up. Going by that, the Pies will win. I know all week the media have been just going on about the Dogs. They love the Dogs midfield. They just think the Dogs form's better. That they're blah blah blah. All this shit. You just knew that. Like our odds tonight, we were $2.25. Like it's ridiculous. We were that far. The Dogs were $1.60 at one point. We were heavy underdogs. And for the majority of the game, we were comfortably the better team. So I don't know what these so-called experts do during the week to come up with these sort of bets. But, you dare to listen to them in the future, because 9 times out of 10, they get the call wrong. They just support each other. One person says the Dogs will win, then no one wants to have an argument. They all say, yeah, I agree, the Dogs will win. Where did the argument and the banter and the debate go with this sort of stuff? They all just agree with each other now. It's so boring. You're better off coming onto Saints TV and listening to an impartial opinion about those sort of games, because they all copy each other, copy and paste. Very happy with Geary's game. That's from Shane. Damon says, thank you, Josh Bruce, for the free kick to kill the Dogs. Fuck yes, I love that. How good was it? Josh Bruce starting the game off with a goal, and he's grabbing the Dogs jumper and cheering and all this crap. But, when it counted, he went missing from that point on. Did nothing after that goal, which is classic Josh Bruce. And Max King goes on and becomes a game changer after that. And that's proof that we let him go, we did the right thing, and we're building something special with Max King in that forward line. Knock knock from Andrew. Lucas says, what was that? Fudge, that umpiring was horrible in the fourth, but we didn't help ourselves with playing the worst quarter of footy we've played since the Geelong game, but so happy we won. That's a bit harsh. I wouldn't have said that. It wasn't that bad of a quarter. It was just that we kind of let the Bulldogs get too much of a run on. We gave them too much space. But I think we were trying to slow the game down, trying to milk the clock. It didn't work. We needed to just keep going, and hopefully next week we learn that. When the game gets tight next week, we're going to have to learn to just keep taking risks. It's a final, but we've exceeded expectations. Now the monkey's off the back. We go for it, and we take on the Tigers next week. Peter says, do you ever get to answering Scoop's question? I have no idea who that is, but I'm scrolling through as many questions as I can, mate. So, James says, scull a drink for the boys. There you go, boys. Enjoy the win. Enjoy the win. There's the sculled champagne. This one's from Andrew. So glad Gary chose to play one of his 4 good games for the year tonight. He was actually really good. His man got way too much of it, but at least he had a crack. Yes, Daniel and Johannesson got a bit of the ball, but their possessions are not as valuable as his goals. If he kicks 2 goals, that negates Caleb Daniels' 20 possessions. To me, that's more important. In a final, 2 goals is is gold. And he got those 2 goals. So he wins that battle. He beats those opponents, even if they get a lot of the ball. Because they just go sideways. You look at Caleb Daniel, a lot of his possessions, and yes, he's a great kick. He sets them up off half back. But a lot of them are sideways handballs, this and that. McRae, Hunter, those sort of midfielders, they do the same. They're not a very direct team, and that's why I thought we were always going to get a chance with their midfield tonight. Even if their midfield is better on paper, they don't use it directly. And if we had that midfield that they have and play direct, geez, we win every game this season. But they mess around with it a bit too much, and I thought that if our pressure was on, then we turn it over enough that we get a lot of goals the other way, and that's exactly what happened. We turned it over, and we got the job done. Dougal was massive. That's from Luca. Shane, worst game by the man of steel. Who cares if that was his worst game of the year? Other players stood up, and it's good to know that, you know, Jack Steele doesn't have to dominate in a final for us to win. You know, he can do his job. He did a few nice things. But it meant Seb Ross could get more of the ball. It meant that Brad Hill, Dan Hanbury can take the pressure of someone like Seb Ross. And, you know, obviously, Zach Jones coming back in helps out a lot. Luke's is right. His tears at the end of the game were heartbreaking. Finals footy at its best. Woohoo, that's from Tony. Aaron says our back 6 are insane. They're fucking tough, aren't they, guys? Ben Patton, Dougal Howard, Cal Wilkie, Ben Long, Hunter Clark, Nick Caulfield, these sort of guys, Jesus, they're match winners. That back 6 is a match-winning back 6, and that is exactly what happened today. Without that back 6, we don't win. Jake Carlisle also, throw him in there, saved us on a lot of occasions with that high ball. Umpires killed us, but a finals win is the result, so I'll take it. Can we please keep Carlisle? That's from Nicholas. I hope we do. You know, he proved tonight that in big games, he doesn't need to get a lot of the ball, but if he takes enough intercept marks against the talls like Bruce and Norton, that's enough to win us the game and to set us up big time. So, Jade Carlisle, massive effort from him. He's had his knockers as well, like Geary, but he stood tall today and he stood up when it mattered. Luke says, cough, shaky in the first half, but brilliant in the second half. Clearly a lot of our players were just kind of getting the feel for the game in that first quarter, but then from that point on, they got more comfortable. Hunter Clark got comfortable, Nick Caulfield got comfortable, Ben Patton was really confident in himself. There were a few times where even he dodged a player on the mark and tried to take them on, which is great. It's not something that you'd look at Ben Patton and think, yeah, he does that, but he's actually got a good turn of foot, and I love that all of our players know their strengths and they know their weaknesses, and that tonight, for the majority of the game, they played to their strengths. The last 5 minutes, we might have played a bit too much to our weaknesses, and that helped the Dogs. But for the majority of the game, we had the belief to take the game on, and that was enough to get scoreboard pressure and put the Dogs under pressure and get the job done. Ryder, best on ground by a mile, will be missed big time next week. That's from Luke. Glenn says Paddy did Achilles. It sucks about Paddy, doesn't it? Cofford and Clark were amazing. I know. We got them in, pick 7 and pick 8 in the 2017 draft, I believe. And now look at them. They're 2 huge factors in a final, with Max King in his second season, technically his first season playing. It's insane. There's some of the stuff these young players are doing. You know, they haven't even played 50 games yet, these guys. They haven't even played 50 games. It's ridiculous. Rowan Marshall, it's his 51st game today, and he's doing crazy things. This team is only going to get better. You know, under Brett Radden, you just feel like every time we win, we learn something new, and we get more out of ourselves individually as players, and that just grows the belief. You know, next week, Max King's going to feel more comfortable, Caulfield's going to feel more comfortable, Clark's going to take them on more, and that puts more confidence into the players like Brad Hill and Steele that have done it for years. They can feel comfortable going forward, knowing these guys have got my back, and you know that sort of stuff you can't undervalue. Is Long in trouble with his bump? That's from Shane. I'd like to think not. You know, it looks like he pulls out. I feel like McRae made more of it than it was, but knowing the AFL and their shit decision and what they did to him earlier in the season and they suspended him for 3 weeks, it would be no surprise that Ben Long gets a week. But if he gets suspended, maybe that opens the door for Josh Battle if he's fit enough to come in and play. But really, I would give him a warning or a fine and move on. It was a final, and and he went in hard for the ball and just caught McRae high, and I don't think... They didn't report him on the spot, so to me that's enough to say that it wasn't deemed a reportable offence. Price says, do not have words to explain this happiness. Yeah, neither do I. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Hunter Clark is Scott Pendlebury-like. That's from Jacob. James says, Gira had 4 contested marks. That's insane. I'd love to go back on the stats and just look back at when he ever had 4 contested marks in a game. I think this was only the 3rd or 4th time in a game in his career where he's kicked multiple goals. It's probably the first time where he's ever had 4 contested marks in a game. So he's played close to his best forward game in his career in a final as captain. You can't ask for much more than that. God, so many comments, guys. Thanks so much for doing this. I struggled to get through all of them. Umpires did not want the Saints to win. That's from Shane. Peter says mostly, I think that's in response to someone else. Colin, he's gone for his Sainters and Sinners. Sainter, rats for bringing the best out of the team. Sinners, umps in Q4. Good call there. Good call there. I just remembered. I cannot wait for the Saints TV podcast with Marshy and Joycey this week. For everyone that listens to the Saints TV podcast, thank you so much. This week is going to be a belter. I cannot wait to hear what these guys are feeling and to get the excitement and to talk about the Richmond game next week. It's going to be a massive podcast. So hopefully if Joycey and Marshy are listening or watching this, guys, let's try and get an early podcast in the next couple of days and continue the party for these Saints fans, because it's been a long time coming, but we're going to milk it for everything that it deserves. We're going to enjoy it. And for any outside Saints or non-Saints fan thinking, Saints TV is going a bit overboard. They haven't won anything yet. They haven't won a flag. To win a final, coming from where we've been in the last 10 years, is as close to winning a flag as we've been. So to all those non-Saints fans, you can just jog on, because this is huge for our club to win a final. And to knock out Richmond, imagine knocking out Richmond in straight sets. That would be huge for our confidence. Lucas says, Hannah showed his leadership tonight. Go Saints, that's from Kerry. Gary being a defensive forward, I love it. He plays that really well. I wonder if he does that next week. You'd think, with Hawley, and they've got obviously Jaden Short in great form, career best form for Richmond. If you could afford to potentially play Geary as a defensive forward again. So, it's worked pretty much every time we've done it this year. I wonder if there's a chance we do it next week, because you think Richmond have got, those rebounding defenders, and Jaden Short being the key one. I'd put Geary on Jaden Short, make him accountable. Geary can kick goals the other way, and he's capable of taking a mark, as he's proven today. That could be a big say in next week's result. Go Saints, whoop whoop, that's from Ben. Jakey definitely has bounced. That's from Luca. Yeah, not continuing that sentence, mate. But yeah, you're probably right. I was shitting myself in that last 2 minutes. How good are the fucking Sainers? That's from James. Campbell says, don't get too keen. Jakey, finals, Richmond are different. Yeah, they're different, but, they've been there and done that. If there's ever a time to get Richmond, it's next week. They've won their 2 flags in 3 seasons, and sometimes it's, as last night proved with Brisbane, it's a coming of age game, and Brisbane took their chances. I think we can do the same. Richmond yesterday weren't great, and they haven't been that great for most of the season, apart from 5 or 6 weeks towards the end when they secured top 4. I'm interested to see how they go when they know the pressure's on, when they can, they know that if they lose, they're out. That adds pressure. Whereas for us, we've had to deal with that for the last 2 weeks against GWS and the Dogs. So we can handle that pressure. We know, we know we can lose, but you were close to flag favourites, guys. So Richmond have got more to lose in this game. So I think that kind of adds to the layers to this game, is that, Richmond might be a bit more nervous than us, and that can play into our hands a little bit. How do you think we'll go against the Tigers? That's from Christine. I think we'll be good. I'm not going to tip us or tip them. I'm not going to give a tip, but, I think we can go into this game full of confidence. I think that our game style suits playing someone like Richmond because it's very uncontested. It's very contested. It's very on the ground. It's ugly football. So it's a matter of who plays their game plan better, because our game plan is very similar to Richmond. So it's a matter of who gets more ball inside 50 and holds it in more, and that's simple as that. They probably get Tom Lynch back, which is big for them, but if we can get Josh Battle back, then that's huge for us as well. So either way, we've got form beating them, and that is huge belief for our players, knowing that we've played them already and we can get the job done and play them. Marks is great, we won, but letting a good lead go again, we will not win a grand final. I agree, but holding on is a massive thing. Marcus, what pillow you got on your bed today? Mate, who gives a fuck? That's a stupid comment. I'm in my office. Makes no difference to this review, so you can just jog on. Dan Butler, Ripper, blitz speed for goal was so good. Yeah, I think that was probably the point in this game where I lost my voice. I was just screaming, fucking Butler, danger, danger. Just doing it now hurts my throat. So, yeah, that was a big stage in the game where I thought we could be home. When he kicks that goal, I'm like, fuck, I think we've almost won this. He got us enough 20-odd points ahead that I thought, shit, this team is believing now. This team isn't nervous. We're going to take it on and we're going to get the job done. And I know we didn't win by as much as we probably should have. We coughed up a big lead, but the Dogs were always going to come. They were always going to push and go for it, and we were always going to potentially get a bit nervous at some stage, and it's always going to be in the last 2 minutes in a close game. But the fact that we hold on means that we get over that nervousness and we can be a bit more comfortable in the tighter games. And hopefully next week we don't have to be at that point in the last 2 minutes. This is from Brenton. Feeling very happy and bloody proud of the backline standing up in big moments today. Bring on next week against Richmond, probably Saturday night. More than likely AFL to announce week 2 schedule later tonight. Geez, I'd love a Friday night. That'd be great, but Saturday night's probably more likely. Nathan says, Christ, we made it that hard for ourselves. Heart attack, well played for 3/4, Sainers. Hannah's was huge as well. Loved his game. When is Battle back? That's from Trudy. Hopefully next week. I've heard that it's a pretty bad injury, but he was on the bike during the week training his legs and trying to get a bit more strength there. So hopefully he can have a few tests this week, and he can play a big role next week for us against the Tigers. Go the Saints. Shit hot. That's from Phil. I was at the Gabba tonight and wow, Hill's run out and out marking. Wow, that's from Griffin. Jeez, it would have been so good to be at the Gabba tonight. I'm so jealous of all the Saints fans that they got to go to the game tonight. Imagine this final. This final would have been at the MCG in front of 70,000, 80,000 people if it wasn't for coronavirus. And, you wonder how that would have affected the nervousness and the composure of our players in front of a bigger crowd, because that would have been the biggest crowd a lot of those players have ever played in front of. But, we get that finals experience in a smaller crowd, which probably bodes well for when we play in front of big crowds next season and for years to come. I might leave it there, guys. There are so many comments. If I continue reading through all these, we'll literally be here for about 10 hours. So I'm going to leave it because no doubt you guys want to have your dinner, you want to have your champagne, your beers, your bit of bubbly, and enjoy a replay and celebrate the fucking Saints win, because this has been a long time coming. To all of you out there in the AFL world that tipped the Dogs and thought Saints don't have the balls to get the job done, you get stuffed. And to all of you Sainers watching tonight and supporting the boys around the country, fuck yes, you're legends. Just to hear the Gabba rocking in that last 10, 20 minutes after we got 20-odd points in front, to see all the messages come through on the Saints TV feed of just so many happy Saints at the ground, at home, taking photos with their family. Someone sent me a photo of their newborn that was born yesterday, guys, with Saints gear on. Everyone's getting on the Saints train. So it's so good to see. I'm so happy to be running a channel where we can just continue this positivity and just to get the vibes going for a big week next week. And our season is just continuing. Every week when we think, fuck, this could be the week where the season's over, our boys step up and we get the job done. And I'm saying we get the job done too often. We just fucking get the win. That's what I really mean. And hopefully next week we can do it again. And I don't care what happens next week, because the party this season has just exceeded all expectations, but we are playing Richmond in a semi-final next week for a chance to play in a prelim final, for a chance to play in the grand final, Sainers. That's huge. So until next week, until Thursday, Friday night, whenever the teams come out and my preview comes out, I hope you have a sensational week. Listen to the Saints TV podcast. And if you want, there is Saints TV merch available. That's Saints stuff, but over here you've got the Gresh prints, you've got Max King, Saints TV merch, black t-shirt there if you want it. If you order tonight or, you know, maybe tomorrow, Monday, you might get it before the next game and you can wear it for then. So anyone who's purchased Saints TV merch already, thank you so much. To everyone that's liked, commented, you know, followed the page, shared the post, do all that stuff. You guys are absolute legends, and we get another week to do it again, and I cannot wait for it. So until then, guys, have a great week. Stay safe. Watch the replay a million times, and just be proud to be a Sainer, because I am, and it's great times to be a Sainer. So thanks again, guys, and until Thursday or Friday, go you fucking Sainers. Cheers, boys and girls. See you guys.